Please be seated. Thank you. Council, good morning. You may proceed.
Good morning, Justice Masimehi.
Good morning, Council.
Justice, I've been instructed to raise a concern before we call our witnesses, if I may.
Yes, of course.
I've been instructed to place on record that we are into the third week of hearings and that the state has not requested nor have they subpoenaed the former MEC Mahlangu to be present and to testify at these hearings. Those are my instructions, simply to place that on record. And we hope that the state will be securing the MEC's presence soon.
Yeah, well, let's, Council for the state, is there anything you want to say to that?
Thank you, Justice. We should also place it on record that pursuant to the process that has been followed and during the pre-trial conference and with regard to correspondence exchanged between the parties, it was agreed that Section 27 will take steps to issue subpoenas against the former MEC. That process is permitted in terms of the procedure in relation to this process. It cannot just be that it is put as if the state is not desirous to get this matter to be attended fully and properly. The attorneys on behalf of Section 27 are also obliged to take those steps to ensure that the former MEC is in attendance. So it should not be seen as if there is one party who is only obliged to ensure that there is attendance of witnesses.
Yeah, I'm not, look, this matter has been discussed in my chambers with counsel, right? And I think we, as I understand, there is no difference between the parties in regard to the necessity to have 3 witnesses here, not just one. Dr. Manamela, Dr. Selubani, and former MEC, Esidimeni Mahlangu. We have talked about this in chambers, and we have agreed that the parties will take the necessary steps to have those 3 witnesses subpoenaed. And on Monday, I conveyed to all of you that the matter is urgent, it's necessary, and it ought to happen. And that obligation rests on all parties, and the state is not excluded, nor is Section 27 excluded. Nor is the legal aid South Africa excluded. It's an obligation that sits on you to subpoena the witnesses under the Arbitration Act and to have them appear before me. And if there's any impediment in that regard, I would like to be informed about it. So I would like to have a backwards and forwards between council, because both of you know, and we have talked about this in my chambers, that it will happen and will be done. In fact, it's in the public interest to make it known that, in fact, that is my position, that those 3 witnesses will come before us ahead of and over and above the National Minister of Health, the Premier of Gauteng Province, and the current MEC for Health in Gauteng. So at least those 6 witnesses from the state ought to appear in these proceedings. We've settled the position of the 3 last mentioned witnesses, and I hope the parties will take all urgent steps, as I've continually urged in my chambers, to have them here. And let me make it clear, these proceedings will not end until those 3 witnesses who made these decisions about the marathon project come before this hearing. So amongst you, Council, I'd like to go back, and you must go and talk about it again. And I'd like to have a report on the exact steps you have taken, that is all Council, in order to procure the attendance. And that will be on Thursday morning before we resume at 9:30. Let's come to have that meeting, where I'd like to have a report. And nobody's exonerated. In the first instance, the state should be making sure that its employees or former employees are here. If that doesn't happen by consent and voluntarily, all parties acquire the duty to subpoena them. And I think that is my attitude on the matter. It ought to be made quite public.
Justice Msaneke, there's some little update that we need to share with you. I think maybe it might assist. We have made contacts with John Ngabecha, who was the former attorney of the MSC then, and there is a response from John Ngabecha, which we just received it now. But the response is to the effect that he has made contact with Ms. Mahlangu. She is willing to cooperate. She's just looking at her dates. She is currently busy writing exams. So she is willing to accommodate these proceedings later in the year, maybe during November and December. So she is willing to come and testify. So attempts have been made by the attorney to secure her attendance at this.
Which attorney?
That is John Ngabecha.
Yes.
Ngabecha was the attorney for the Department of Health as well as the MEC at the time when this marathon project was ongoing. So he has some information on what has been going on. So we have requested his assistance, and he has reported back this morning, just now, that he has made contact with that is the former MEC, and she is aware that she's been requested to come and testify here, and she will come and do testify.
Well, in that event, she has to be given the dates on which we will be sitting.
Correct, we have done that.
Which will be settled, and she should find time in those dates when we are here all and sitting. And let's have a report on Thursday again,
Yeah.
Thursday morning when we meet, so that we know exactly where we are on that issue. If she comes voluntarily, obviously, the happier for all of us.
Yes.
But we shouldn't leave it to chance. If she doesn't, we have no clear confirmations early, we should have subpoenas issued.
Correct, correct. Yes.
Very well. And what about Dr. Manamela? How are we doing, Council?
Justice, I've been advised that the subpoena was issued on Friday, and we're awaiting return of service.
And has been issued for a specific date of hearing.
It's been issued for a specific date, and it was issued on an urgent basis.
Yeah. So you await a return of
service.
service, obviously, on her.
Yes.
Yeah, very well. And Dr. Esidimeni, how are we doing? Counsel for the state?
Yes. Thank you, Justice. We wanted to confirm the dates for the next sitting so that when we issue the subpoena, it should have specific dates during which the witness is required to come and testify. We understood that the dates that have been discussed were yet to be confirmed. So we have not yet received that confirmation. Once that is done, we'll then be in a position to issue a subpoena which has got specific dates during which the witness is supposed to come.
Yeah.
That
but
is.
Ken will give you the confirmed dates, tea time, as we break up now, and then we should go ahead and subpoena him. Have we asked him, and is he reluctant to come, or is he willing to come?
From the previous correspondence, there was some resistance about the appearance in light of the
Resistance from Dr.
Esidimeni.
Esidimeni.
Yes, like particularly in relation to the steps that the department has taken against them. Like the view has been that in light of those processes continuing, they were not willing to actually come and appear. But we will take appropriate and necessary steps should there be any resistance despite the issuing and serving of a subpoena.
Very well. Let's report also on that matter on Thursday morning before we start our hearing. Let's get a firm report about whether he is still resisting and whether the subpoena has been issued. Because the dates confirmed will be given to you during the tea break.
Thank you, Justice.
Very well. Is there anything, Counsel? You're looking at me as if you want to say something more.
No. I'm just listening.
Or you're just listening attentively, right? You're not like indicating willingness to talk. You started this, Counsel. I'm back at you. Is there anything else you want to say in the light of the discussion?
Thank you for indulging this concern that the families have raised, Justice Masaneke. As long as we proceed with urgency to get the relevant people here, we're satisfied.
Yes. Now they all know it's in the hands of their legal team, in the hands of all other legal teams, and all steps should be taken. And they know that I have continually directed that those steps be taken so that we have them here. And if they are not here, all three of them, this hearing will not end. Just that simple. So we're not going to run out of time unless I die or something like that. So we will get them here, and there's no need to. I've seen concerning the media that our 3 weeks is running out, but we're not going to run out of time until we have those witnesses here.
Thank you, Justice Masaneke.
Very well. Is there anything else on this particular issue before we get back to the proceedings? No. Counsel, and welcome back to Advocate Steyn.
Thank you, Justice.
Justice Masaneke, we'd like to call Mr. Lucas Mokwerane to take the stand, and Ms. Steyn will lead his evidence.
How did you sing Leram Khoran? ba gogele tafole e ko pele ke kgone go go bona ra le setulo sa gago ka se tlisa ko pele Oh. In what language do you want to testify?
English, please.
In English. Would you put your full names on record?
Lucas Mokwarane.
Would you swear that the evidence you are about to give will be the truth and nothing but the truth? And if so, please raise your right hand and say, "So help me God."
So help me God.
Ms. Stein.
Thank you, Justice. Good morning, Mr. Mokwarane.
Good morning, ma'am.
Mr. Mokwarane, what was your relationship to Christopher Mokwarane?
Christopher Mokwarane is my brother who was the closest to me in the family.
And by the closest to you, you mean?
By the closest to me was part of my life. So the other piece, when it is no more, then I'm not in the fullest of a human being.
Mr. Mokwarane, there's a photograph in front of you marked ELAH 34.
Yes.
Can you tell us who's in that picture?
This is the handsome Christopher Mokwarane.
And where was that picture taken?
This picture is it's a good memory to us. It was taken on the 5th of November during my son's wedding.
I think you'll have to repeat the exhibit number.
It's ELAH 34.
34, thank you.
Mr. Mokwarane, you said the 5th of November. What year is that?
2015.
And who took the picture?
One of the family members took the picture.
Was Christopher ever at Life Esidimeni?
Yes.
Which facility was he at?
He spent most of his life in Randfontein, more years in Randfontein, and towards the end of that, he was taken to Waverley in Germiston, Life Esidimeni.
How many years did he spend in Randfontein?
In Randfontein, you could talk about almost 10 years.
And Waverley?
Waverley, 2 years.
2 years. What was his condition?
Perfect. He was, just as you see me, he was so perfect. He was not sick. He was a schizophrenia user, but he was not a sick man.
Did Christopher ever live with you at home?
Yes.
And how was that for you?
May you repeat the question, please?
How was it for you living at home with Christopher?
Oh, that was the best of the moment to have Christopher with me. And that is why that prompted me to be a regular visit, fortnight or every week, wherever he is. And that has become a habit.
And was this during his stay at Life Esidimeni?
It was during his stay at Life Esidimeni.
And what were the conditions like there?
You know, Christopher has got a 30 years track record of his schizophrenia. But Life Esidimeni was the best among other places. The best, and we were happy about that.
Can you tell us a bit, can you tell us why you say it was the best?
Why I say, compared to the other places from Baragwan of Sterkfontein and others, the Life Esidimeni, we appreciated nutrition, you know, the feeding. We appreciated the facilities, the system, the compliance of the machineries that they were using. And of course, just when you enter at the gate, there's a security.
And was Christopher happy there?
Christopher was happy. I've never seen Christopher being so happy.
Did you take Christopher home during the holidays?
Of course, yes. I did take him during the holidays. And I saw to it that now whatever errands I'm doing, whether I'm going to the workshops at the university, because I'm a developer to the students in entrepreneurship, especially those who want to take the business and a faculty in the law business. Christopher was always with me.
Okay. How did you find out that they were going to close Life Esidimeni?
Well, in October, there were rumors.
October of which year?
October 2015. There were rumors, but those rumors, you know, when you hear such rumors, you ask yourself why. Because you look at the place, you see now what more do people want when you see the facility is readily equipped for a human being.
What rumors were circulating?
Rumors were
October
circulating that now
2015?
there will be a move from Esidimeni. The users will be moved away from Esidimeni.
And who did you hear these rumors from?
Well, you know, like we are united today as a family. I must say, it has been a long walk to justice as we are here today, 2 years. We knew each other when we visit. Then you hear people talking. Did you hear about that? When you didn't hear, you said, no, who said those? That's the kind of rumor we were hearing.
And did you attend any meetings with the Department of Health about the closure?
Yes, of course. Before we had a meeting with the MEC, after those rumors, we communicated with Section 27 as families to say we hear something like this. Because Section 27 is an organization of human rights. We knew that now they will give us away. And then we had an understanding that it shouldn't happen that people should be moved. So we met with the MEC in the new year, before we met the MEC in 20, we had an open day. There was an open day, and that's when the rumor spread. But in February, that was in December 2015, in February 2016, we insisted that we should have the MEC to come and explain to us about the move. Indeed, she did come in February 2016, and we had questions. We had also suggestions, because we believe that we've got a democratic government which will listen to the people.
Let's take it chunk by chunk. You know the way you eat an elephant?
Okay,
Bit by bit.
bit by bit.
Yes. In Swahili, they say body in body. You don't eat everything, you take small pieces.
Yes,
In 2015, the rumors circulate,
yes,
and then you have an open day.
yes.
Who are we who had an open day?
No, normally in December, there's an open day for families to come and meet the users and families to see the beautiful work that the users have, like arts, like, you know, car wash, like any
So
artist.
you went to Esidimeni in the normal convention of an open day in December,
Yes,
and many family people of the users were there.
yes.
And at the open day, what happened about, or what was said about the move?
Well, it was just announced that there's a special message to be said about the move. In fact, we thought maybe there are changes. There's something additional that we are going to see about the artistic work which has been done by our
Who
family.
announced the possible move of users in December 2015 at the open day?
Well, the manager is the one who announced the move of the patients in 2015.
Very well. And then you decided to meet with the MEC in February.
In February, because
2016.
yes.
Okay, tell us about that meeting.
that meeting, was a meeting where we wanted to hear from the horse's mouth, why should we move? And we had questions to say, if
And
the
the MEC is MEC of Health in Gauteng.
MEC of Health in Gauteng,
Ms.
Mr. Tani Mahlangu.
Yes.
So now, the question was, could she tell us the reasons why we should move, why the users were to be moved?
Did she attend the meeting
She-
alone?
Yes.
Or with
No,
other
she had some officials who attended.
Can you remember which officials attended?
Well, it was a few of them, but I don't remember the names, but they were there.
Was HOD there?
There was
Dr.
HOD.
Silibano, was he there?
Well, my colleagues will remind me, but now there were a few of them there.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
That's fine. And then you just tell us about the meeting? with
And
the
then
MEC?
it was proposed that the MEC was not present, but she's delaying. We should start the meeting, but we refused. We said, until she comes, we cannot start. Eventually, she arrived, and the meeting started.
Can I interrupt you there, Mr. Mokhorane?
Yes.
Who organized the meeting?
The manager at Esidimeni organized the meeting. Yes.
Thank you. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Yes.
Can you continue telling us
And
about the
then when
meeting?
she came, because she delayed, we had already had an agenda from our side that we had questions, because time was just limited. So we requested that we should pose those questions to the MEC. And our question was, can she tell us any reason why the move should take place? And the answer was to reduce costs. Then we said, good enough. Can you describe when you say cost? Can you give us a figure when you say cost? Says annually a building can cost 123,712,000. So that is too much for the government to spend. But because some of us, among the families, we dealt with properties. In fact, some of us are retired. We dealt with properties. But we said,
What did she mean by a building would cost 23.7 million? What building would,
not only building, but include the costs of
I mean the construction cost?
construction cost, but including all the costs that is spent to
Construct a facility?
yes.
Okay. very
Was
well.
she talking about the Life Esidimeni facilities?
It was live Esidimeni, if I'm correct, yes.
So just to clarify, Mr. Mokhorane, was she saying it would cost, was it 123 million
Yes.
to continue with the care of
With the
mental health
care
care
of the
users
better
at
health,
Life
yeah.
Esidimeni?
Absolutely, yes.
Or to construct a new facility
No, to continue.
to continue,
To continue, yes.
business?
And that couldn't be appreciated. It must stop,
Okay.
yes.
So council, what's the answer? What's 123 million for?
Justice, it appears that the 123 million was to continue the operation of Life Esidimeni to look after the mental health care users.
So it's the cost of keeping the mental health care users there,
That's my understanding,
not the
Justice.
cost to construct a similar or comparable facility.
That's my understanding, Justice.
Yes, it's correct, Justice. And then we had a suggestion that, yes, we hear, but we are against the move. We had a suggestion that now, should it be Plan B, then we as the family volunteer to assist, especially with properties, so that now we should cut that figure into half.
What do you mean assist with properties?
Assist the properties that now we believe that we should use our expertise, put them on the table that we hear you, but now here's a suggestion. This is what can come up from the families, because we have the interest of our families, our people, which are the users. And she noted that, and then of course, in conclusion, it was that it will be appropriate to do that, to tell us when it is time to move, And it was suggested that it should be in March, but later it was announced it will no more be March, it will be in June 2016. The move will be in June 2016.
Did you tell the MEC why you didn't want the mental health care users placed in other facilities?
Yes, we put all the benefits that we appreciated. We even said when it comes to any funding or donations, we could go all out and assist because this is life of our people. We are prepared to sacrifice and compromise.
And what was the MEC's response?
Well, the MEC's response was, look, since I hear you, because we requested that now, should there be any move, we should be told, given an allowance of 3 weeks before the move happens. Remember now, it's no more March, it will be in June 2016. So that was the understanding of the ending of the meeting to say we still have some time to hear from the MEC.
Did she ever agree not to move the users?
Yes, she agreed that now I'll consider your request.
And the 3-week period you spoke about,
Yes.
what was the purpose of being informed 3 weeks before the move?
The purpose was that should there be any deviation or changes, remember, plan B was that should you insist in moving, then convince us that the next place will be as beautiful, as compliant as this facility of life, Esidimeni.
Did you know any of these next places that mental health care users were being moved to?
We hardly knew of these next places. This is why we wanted to be part of, that investigations of those new premises, whatever it could be, yes.
And so you're saying you wanted to go and see those new premises?
We wanted to go and see those premises.
Where was Christopher ultimately moved to?
Christopher was moved to the west side of Atteridgeville, which is between Deep Sloot and Atteridgeville, an NGO called Rebafeni.
Did you see Rebafeni before Christopher was moved there?
I never saw Rebafeni before Christopher was moved there.
Did you know that Christopher was being moved to Rebafeni?
I never knew until on the 27th of May. While I was driving, there's a call that came and said, it's from a voice of a lady that we are moving Christopher the next day, meaning on the 28th of May.
Of what year?
2016.
And who was the lady who called you?
The lady sounded like Mandisa, the social worker, because they are Selina and Mandisa. Yes. And then I said, but this is a surprise. The ending of the last meeting, our understanding was we should be informed 3 weeks before. Then she said, sir, I am doing my work. You should just come and take Christopher. If you don't want him to go, come and take him. Then while I was just trying to talk to her, the phone, was cut off. And the next gentleman who phoned me after some seconds is T. Seto. This T. Seto, I thought it would be somebody at a staff of Esidimeni, but from an understanding, I was told by this very lady that he is the one, because this lady didn't know the direction where Christopher was. So T. Seto is the man who gave me this direction of 165 Henops Road, that is next to Atteridgeville. That's how I got to know about Christopher. But the problem was, the next day, I had some errands. I wanted to be with Christopher on the 28th. I couldn't want to miss that. Because of the workshops that I'm attending, I should be doing with University of Johannesburg, that I could not make it. But I made it on the 5th. I was...
The 5th of?
The 5th of June. And remember, I just saw Christopher in the middle of May, as fit as an ox.
And when you saw him on the 5th of June, is that 2016?
Yes.
What was he like?
As I drove in, again now, negativity, there was no security. Now I saw a group of men with overalls, compared to Esidimeni with beautiful uniforms, warm uniforms and shoes. But there they were barefooted, footed, with big overalls. I know Christopher as I know myself, but on that day I couldn't recognize him. He was as thin as ever. He was so thin that he cried like a baby. For the first time in 30 years, my brother cried like that. Then I opened the doors, he jumped in because he just waved to me. It's me, big brother. He used to call me like that. Then that shocked me. Around me, a group of his colleagues were shouting. Some of them knows me because I'm involved in projects in Soweto. Uncle, we know you. Take us home. Where are we? Even Christopher, where are we, big brother? They were in that subconscious mind. That also shocked me. Then as I drove in, I stopped because I had food in my boot. I had fruits. I had so much to bring as a habit that I used to bring to Christopher. But I had bananas and oranges. As they were surrounding me, as I tried to give them one by one, they just grabbed these bananas and gourmandized them ferociously without peeling them off.
Well, you've got to tell us what gourmandize is.
Gourmandize is not really eating, because if you eat, you chew. But if you gourmandize, you just swallow. Yes.
What language is gourmandize?
Well, it's just it's just a term.
Gourmandize.
Absolutely, ke go komeza justice.
Yes.
But they were gone, and then the manager Nolene was already next to me. Then I asked her, Nolene, what am I saying? What's happening? Is there no food here? Is there no? Why people are all? They have slimmed. Christopher is just hardly few weeks I saw him. He's hardly a week from Esidimeni because he died in the second week. And the track record of 30 years. He's so thin. What's going on? Nolene said, no, you are right, sir. We don't have food.
Who is Nolene?
Nolene is the manager of Rebafeni.
What is her last name?
I just knew Nolene, the name. Manager of Rebafeni. She just said, well, we had to do what we were forced to do. I just explained what you are saying. She said, we were not ready to come here. And we were even not paid. And we don't have food. That was the answer. And that time, Christopher was still alive. And the other colleagues were still alive.
So what were they eating?
Pardon?
What were they eating, if there was?
Well, she said she's trying just from the shop rights a little bit to come for donations and other things.
Before you go on, I would like to know the geographic location of Rebafeni.
Rebafeni.
Where exactly is it?
Rebafeni is between Diepsloot. That is on the other side is Midrand, and then it is western side of Atteridgeville, 165 Hennep's River. That's how I can describe it.
So it says between Diepsloot and Atteridgeville.
And Atteridgeville, yes.
That's a good 20 to 30 kilometers.
Kilometers, absolutely.
Between the two.
Yes.
And it's located somewhere between the two.
The two, yes.
And on what is it? Is it a building? Is it?
It is, when you approach it, it is a double-story building. It looks okay outside. But as you come in, from my knowledge of properties, as you go in, then you realize this is like a concentration camp.
Is it located within a suburb? In other words, with other residential
It is
homes or
well, there
commercial
are-
homes around it?
There are scattered houses around,
On
but very
on a
few.
plot? Is
on
it
a
on
plot.
a plot?
These are plots, yes.
And how many people were there? Sorry, Justin.
Well, those I saw that day, I estimated 25.
Men,
Because
women?
males, only
All
males.
males?
Yes. I estimated that number, but when we went inside, then the building is no more beautiful. And the answer was that we were not ready. We were not prepared to come here, but we were forced to come. So I could see water leaking from upstairs to the doors were just falling. And I thought I would see like the usual Esidimeni. I saw two ladies who were supposed to be care workers, but to me they were cooks. They were cooks. And from there, I went up to go and see the other portion of the building. Then I had some questions. I said, I'm questioning you because I know a lot of our properties. I know the compliance and I know all, but this is not a place to stay. And so I said all that, and she said, but now my saying to you is that we had to come, but we were not ready after my question.
Who was this saying that to you?
This is Nolin, the manager of the facility.
And were there beds in the facility?
Pardon?
Were there beds?
Yes, there were beds, of course. There were beds that I saw there. But the most thing that worried me, food. Because all the time I was talking on behalf of these 141 people. Today I'm talking about Christopher. Christopher was a food lover. Christopher, all over where he was, you ask any doctor, you ask any care worker, he was talkative. Christopher needed good food. That's why it was my business to bring him good food. Christopher knew the times and reminded the care workers, when it is 10 minutes after, then you are in trouble. He wants his medication. So now, he took a lot of water, avoiding dehydration. So now, Christopher was always like that. And that is why Christopher, we saw to it that now he must be well equipped with food. He must get his medication, and etc. So now, when these things did not happen, I see about the building, but I was worried also about people being barefooted. And overalls, they look like the worksmen men, far different to Esidimeni.
Was Christopher taking his medication?
Christopher, even at home, you don't have to tell him. He would remind you. He would remind you. As you know, sometimes, let me put it this way. I used to go to Esidimeni. I would go there at 10 o'clock, and I would go out there at 4 o'clock, because I had the passion, because I'm a man of projects, that is supporting the government with projects and entrepreneurship. I deal with the youth, the women. Then we, as families, we used to come there and want to see people doing something, car wash, all these things. And then to us, staying there with him, we wanted, it was an indication to say, you are part of the family. The reasons we brought you here, we didn't dump you, as we hear that we dumped our people. The reasons, at home, we don't have these facilities. But from time to time, it was a pleasure to be allowed to stay from 10 o'clock to 4 o'clock. That was a good habit indeed.
When did Christopher pass away?
On the 15th of June 2016, I received a call from Nolin. It was, when I looked at my watch, it was 10 o'clock a.m. to say Christopher has died. Then I was shocked, because I don't expect from a man who was as fit as him, but I could see already that, I could understand that some things do happen. Then I asked a question to Nolin, how did that happen? She says, in the middle of the night. And then I asked the question, where were you? She said, I was sleeping at home. Sleeping at home. Is there anybody who is in charge at night? They are not, unlike Esidimeni, it was 24 hours. So there was no security. Nobody looked after these people. They were just vulnerable. And what time did you arrive at work? I arrived at work at 7 o'clock. Then I looked 7 o'clock. You only phoned me at 10 o'clock. That was a big question. Then I arranged for the next day was the 16th. It was a holiday. So I had to go on the 17th.
Before you get there,
Yes.
sorry. Did Nolene tell you what happened that led to Christopher's death?
Well, the answer was that nobody saw Christopher as he fell. He was on the ground from a bathroom, from one of the bathrooms on his side. And how did he fall? I wouldn't say, because nobody saw, other people were sleeping. Nobody saw Christopher when he fell. And where were you? I was also sleeping at home. Then I only started at 7. That's the answer I got.
Sorry, if you can give me...
Was Christopher mobile? Could he walk on his own?
Christopher could walk. Christopher could assist the care workers to help others. Because to me it was okay, and I was encouraging him, because to set the tables, to see to it, that some of the chores are done. In fact, he was motivative, and I was encouraging that.
Mr. Mokhorane, there's a file in front of you, or somewhere behind you. I think someone will assist you in getting it. File number 11. I'd like you to turn to page 3844.
Yes, I've got it.
What is that document?
This is the death certificate.
And can you read to us the cause of death?
The big natural causes.
Did you ever find out anything more about the cause of Christopher's death or the circumstances around his death on the 15th of June?
Yes, on the 15th of June, I said to Nolene, Christopher is hardly 2 weeks with you, and the cause of death is natural death. This is unacceptable. This is shocking. I don't believe this. I'm not in denial, but from the bottom of my heart, that is ridiculous. This is what I said.
And what was her response?
And his response was that now, well, these are the results. Firstly, I said to him, who did you call? She said, I called the paramedics. And then next, who did you call? I called the police. Okay, and then the paramedics certified that your brother is dead. And we took him to our mortuary, not far from in Atteridgeville. I say it's OPA Funeral Services, something like that. That's what she told me.
So, sorry, Nolene took him to OPA Funeral Services?
Yes, OPA Funeral Services. So that's where we went with my son and my nephew on the 17th, where we came into the mortuary. We found Christopher in the side position with his left hand overlapping. And then you could tell the symptom that this looks like a stroke. And of course, a stroke creates heart attack from the other knowledge that I'm having. Then you look at the certificate, it is natural causes. Then you ask yourself, is somebody who wrote that a qualified person, or a person who has just been put into a position without any assessment? And then from there, you ask yourself that, can I believe this? It is not easy to believe that.
Did you request a post-mortem?
Well, we requested a postmortem, but time went on and we felt, look, some of these things take a process. We had to bury Christopher, but we knew that we must continue with the investigation. We must know the forensic officers that Nolene phoned and that attended to Christopher. We must know about the paramedics. If there's a doctor, we must also know about that. And from there, then we should get the results. And we don't expect the result to be natural causes. And indeed, yesterday, I had to peruse. I had to go to the undertaker that we used to go and fetch Christopher. A young paramedic had to submit the oath that she made, the times, the registration, her qualifications, that I wish all forensic officers should come forward and do the same, because we are here for the truth and justice. So this is how she described how she saw, what she checked, and the car she was using, and the time frame, and so on. So this, when you look at this, and she gave us the breakdown, that there's 1, 2, up to 5. There are no injuries, the top one says. And number 1, they say the capitation of mortal disfigurement is not there. The general cheering due to extensive burns is not there. The
I'm a bit
putrefaction.
lost, Council. Where are we now?
Yeah,
Okay.
I wonder, Mr. Mokorane, if we could perhaps get a copy of that and hand it up
Yes,
as an
you
exhibit.
will get a copy. But the last one that I want just to say, it described, you compare to the description, it is circled. Compare the description of the paramedics and compare it to natural causes. It says rigor mortis. And then if you Google, it will explain it is the stiffness of the muscle. So that coincided with what we saw.
The document you have in your hand was compiled by?
This document
Yes.
is from the Department of Health Emergencies Medical Services.
Who completed the form?
Here it is a paramedic we've got a name there, took the oath.
It relates to which deceased person?
It relates to Christopher.
And it was completed by the same person who had examined Christopher immediately after he passed on?
Well, as it explains that now they do some following checks until on the scene in the ambulance at the same arena until at 9:20 Christopher passed on.
Is that the actual paramedic who saw Christopher after his death?
Yes, this is the actual paramedic.
And completed that form for what reason, at whose request?
Well, how
So
I
I'm
got
I'm looking at page 3843, for instance.
page
3843.
Yes, I've got it.
Is it the same form as on page 3843?
No, this is not the same form.
It's not the same form.
Justice, perhaps what we could do is, we haven't seen the document, but perhaps we could get copies of the document and hand that up as an exhibit and return to it once we've had a chance to study it.
Okay. Shall we proceed?
Thank you. Mr. Mokorani, when did you bury Christopher?
We buried Christopher on the 25th, just 10 days after the 15th
The 25th
of June,
2016?
2016, yes.
And how did his death affect your family?
Well, the death came with its consequences. In fact, it started with me. I'm an energetic person who can take hours working. But nowadays I can do half of those hours. my elderly sister, my nieces are in and out of the hospitals. Yes.
Well, while you were talking about how it affected you, I want to take you back to how it affected you financially. Who paid for the burial?
Well, I hope my son is in here. I have one son who looked after his father. He's the one who did all that.
And the state did not help you with the funeral expenses?
No.
And can you give us an estimation of the funeral expenses?
I've got also the receipts here, 22,000, that I can mention now.
Did any of, once you were at this funeral parlor, was there any attempt to persuade you to use them as your undertaker?
No, like I said, we went to fetch Christopher using our own undertaker.
I follow.
Yeah.
You may proceed. Thanks.
Thank you, Justice. Mr. Mokhorani, did you ever hear anything from anyone in the government after Christopher's death?
It's a good question, ma'am. I had a private call because now, from there, I had to appear in most of the papers, television, talking about this, speaking out, saying, this is not acceptable. I got a call, but it was a private number saying, Mr. Danima Sangu wants to see me.
Who called you?
It's a private number, never told me his name or so on.
And they didn't identify themselves?
They didn't introduce themselves. Then I said, but I was told to go to her office. Now,
And was it the MEC who wanted to see you?
yes. Now, what assails in my mind was, it is too little too late. It is too little too late. In that meeting in February 2016, we wanted to put down our facts that this should not, the move shouldn't take place. Nobody heard us. So it was too little too late, and it brought some other reasons that I cannot be used for certain things. That's why I didn't want to attend, to accept that call.
And did you attend the meeting with the MEC?
No, I never attended the meeting.
Not to.
You know, I want to take you back to something that's still humming in my head. What did Nolene say in relation to receiving all these patients? Did she say why she did it?
Well, she said why she did it. It was a matter of, do you want or you don't want? Take it or leave it.
No, I don't understand that. Did she say she was compelled to receive these mental health care users?
She wanted to receive them, but now she was not ready.
Did she tell you why she wanted to receive them?
Well, she never told me why she wanted to receive them, but now the question was, you were asked the question you want to, whether you want to or you don't want to. She said, well, because I needed money. That's why I had to take this.
She said she needed money.
She needed money.
Did she tell you why she did not have the money?
Well, she didn't tell me why she did not have the money.
And by the time Christopher passed on, had she received the money? Did you talk to her about this?
She told me that she was not yet paid as yet. When I questioned that, and why are people so hungry? Why are they, you know, just an example of Christopher. Why has he lost weight? Then she said, we don't have food. We haven't been paid as yet. Yeah.
Council.
Was Christopher receiving a SASSA grant?
Christopher was receiving a social grant. But what was happening, as soon as he was at Life Esidimeni, it had to stop because now he's under that care. Yes.
And do you know what happened with his social grant once he moved to Rebefeni?
To date, we don't even know what happened.
Is there anything else that you'd like to say? Anything you'd like to say to the government?
Yes, in fact, there's plenty of things to say, but few, if I summarize them. What the family of the Mokhweranis wants to know is that we want to ask the government, we want to ask Nolin to say, people having lack of food, lack of medication, lack of dehydration, having dehydration, trauma, stress, and the position in which Christopher died. How does it feel like? Should it be your member of family? Is it that, no, it happened, life must go on? This is the question that we are asking government. This is another statement that I want to say. Let us see the changes that the government will be doing. This is a wake-up call. We want to see, on the side of government, we want to see appropriate counseling taking place. We want to see appropriate support systems or services. We want to see also very fair and good compensation on the side of government. To say sorry. We want to see a memorial monument to be in the history since ever the inception of this government, because this is 4 times the Marikana. This shouldn't happen. This shouldn't happen. This follows the words of Madiba saying never, and never, and never again should this happen. And on the side of the NPA, with the law enforcement, show us, tell us the truth. Give us justice. Let those perpetrators to come forward and be charged. And then we will say, this is the government of the people, with the people, by the people, then the people. Then this is democracy that Madiba wanted to see. Yes, those are the questions.
Mr. Mokhorani, perhaps before we excuse you, my colleague has found a definition for the term gourmandise.
Oh,
I'm going to ask her to read it out to you.
Okay.
Justice, I thought you may want to know that it's a word of French origin, gourmandise, and it means to
how do
eat.
you write it?
Gourmandise.
Yes.
From the French word gourmand, and it means to eat good food, especially to excess.
Nya utlwa kgetse motho weso.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Ke gore thuse ke di-advocate tsa gago fa. Ba tswa go Google ba batla gourmandise.
Yeah, that is why we chose these representatives.
And when I put it to you, you said maybe it's Setswana, now it's French.
No, I was just ready to say you can understand in that way for simplicity.
Well, it's a good word. I know now what it is to commendize.
Because I had good food, which is nutritious. But Christopher shared it with his friends, colleagues. The people shall share. That's what happened.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mokorani. I know it's a painful story for you to tell, and we're very sorry for your loss.
Yes.
But we appreciate your contribution to this important process.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Advocate Stein. Advocate Krause.
Thank you, Justice. We don't have any questions, thank you.
Not even about commendize.
I can't even pronounce that, so I won't try. Thank you, Justice.
Okay. Nyara, ga wa fetsa motho. Kgopela o dule fatshe hle. You're going now to be subjected to questions from the different advocates.
Okay.
There was a friendly session with your advocate. And now comes what we call cross-examination.
Okay.
Very well.
Thank you, Justice.
Okay.
We have no questions for
You
the
have no
witness.
questions, Advocate Groenewald. Counsel,
Thank you, Justice. We have no questions for the witness.
you have no
Thank you.
questions. Counsel for the state. Advocate Mutamo.
Thank you, Justice. There are no questions to the witness. If we may be allowed just to express our sympathy to Mr. Mokorani regarding the loss of his brother. As he has indicated, the government has acknowledged that this is indeed a wake-up call, although it is very unfortunate that we have to find ourselves in this situation. The object of this process is obviously to find the truth that the family of the Mokoranis and all those who are affected wants to know. And with regard to the aspect relating to what will then happen next, the government has taken steps in order to ensure that the recommendations which were made by the report of the Ombudsman are being followed through, are being implemented. It is on record that the government has acknowledged that certain things went wrong and they should never and never and never again happen. So we are really sorry about what had actually occurred, and we appreciate the time that you have made to come and share your testimony with us. And the government is really taking that into account, and we really need to find closure regarding this situation, and we hope that we'll be able to succeed in that regard. Thank you so much.
Ra, dipotso tsa ka ke tse, ga se ntsi, di a latela.
Yeah.
Did this death certificate shows that your brother was never married?
Yes,
Is that true?
true.
Did he have any children of his own?
No.
He had
not
no
true.
children of his own. You were a member of the family committee
Yes, family committee.
representing many families of the deceased and affected mental health care users.
That's correct.
And you are one of the people who had a big role in inviting somebody like me to serve as an arbitrator in this matter.
Yes, correct, Justice. I'm one of those people who felt that a person like your caliber should be invited because we know your track record and we trust you.
And this process, sometimes it gets missed. This process is a joint process between the family committee,
Yes,
the province, and the national ministry.
yes,
And The arbitration comes out of that agreement
Correct.
where you are part of and participated in setting up this process.
Yes, I'm part of the setting up this process.
Yeah. Quite often it's reported as a government effort only, but as I understand it, you are one of those who demanded it, who wanted it, and who took steps in the family committee to make sure that
Yes.
we have this arbitration process.
Absolutely. When I started deliberating here, I said it was a long walk of 2 years to justice.
Mme ke feditse. Go sengwe se o batlang go se bua?
Ee,
So sa
Ra.
se buang go itla yaanong.
Ra, what we are saying, the arbitrator is a man of neutral disposition. In simplicity, is a neutral man, should be a neutral man, and he is. No favors. And I'm saying this, we have the most beautiful constitution and policies in the world. So let the government practice what it preaches. It's not only about Barry White, it's about the facts that we should see that practice. And of course, our worry lies on the national prosecution. It will be a shame if it fails. And it will have disappointed people like Madiba, who had a vision for this democracy. And at Setswana, we say, Pula aene, Pula, in conclusion.
Yeah, no, on a lighter note, you know, your counsel took you to ELAH 34. Yeah, no, gibana kokwetse mogwerane mo tsama le mmeo phatsimang fam. Mmeo ke bang yena?
Meo is
I'm asking the witness, who is this beautiful lady
Yes,
who's
this beautiful
on the
lady.
side of his brother?
This beautiful lady is a girlfriend of my nephew, but she was so close to Christopher. Christopher liked his clothing. He liked his fashion. He liked that women should see that he's well dressed. And especially during the wedding of my son in Midrand. So I've never seen Christopher so happy. He used to tell the care workers and other people that now, you must look at me. I'm so clean and I like my food. And then the question, as you see the journalists expressing themselves, was this man supposed to die? That's the title. I think.
You are excused. Thank you ever so much. Counsel, we're ready for the next witness.
Thank you, Justice. Our next witness is Mr. Lesiba Johannes Lechwabe. I see he's making his way to the front.
Mr. Lechwabe, rata o bua leleme le lefe?
No, I can speak English.
You'll use English very well. Would you put your full names on record, please?
My name is Lesiba Johannes Lechwabe.
Do you swear that the evidence you are about to give will be the truth, nothing but the truth? And if so, raise your right hand and say, so help me God.
So help me God.
Counsel.
Thank you, Justice. Good morning, Mr. Lechwabe.
Good morning, Counsel.
Mr. Lechwabe, what was your relationship to Motofela Lechwabe?
He was my brother. He's the last born of my late mother.
There are two pictures in front of you, marked ELAH 33A and ELAH 33B.
Yeah, I saw them.
Can you tell us who's in those? Can we wait a moment just for the justice to get those
Yes,
pictures?
yes, please, thank you. Yes, I'm here, thank you.
Can you tell us who's in those pictures?
On these pictures is my late brother and also my late wife.
And when were the pictures taken? Were they taken on the same day?
They were taken on the same day at CCRC.
By
was-
CCRC, you mean Cullinan
Cullinan.
Care and Rehabilitation Center.
Yes, Council.
And when were they taken?
They were taken on the 24th of June,
Of what year?
2016.
And who took these pictures?
It's my little daughter, Smakalen Lohwabi, who
Well, the
took them.
tag refers us to 7th July 2016.
Yes, Justice.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Which of the 2 days is the correct one?
Yeah, no, the correct one, sorry. I thought that I sent the first ones, but it's the right date, 7th July, yeah, it's correct.
Very well, let's continue.
Was Motofela ever at Life Esidimeni?
Yeah, Motofela, he was in Life Esidimeni. He stayed there for almost 33 years.
Which facility was he in?
He was at Waverley.
Waverley. And what was his condition?
He was some person who's got epilepsy, and then he was falling, and then he was also, he didn't came all right. When you were talking to him, he was always forgetting to say, and then he couldn't speak.
Okay. And can you tell us a bit about the history of his illness and the facilities he stayed at?
Yeah, Mutufela, we took him to Life Esidimeni when I was still, or let me put it, when I was suspended from school in 1977 because I was active in the SRC. We took him to Waverley, which was called, previously was called Knights. At that time, I didn't marry at that time because my mother also did have a little of strokes. You couldn't handle him because every time when I came home, I'll find that he has fallen away. Nobody helped him because my mother couldn't walk. And then this thing came to me, to my senses, that even though that I'm not waking, I have to do something. Therefore, there was one social worker, his name is Mrs. Limbani. Because I'm staying in Mamelodi, he was staying in the same area of mine, where I went and contacted her, even in the clinic, to tell him, can't you assist about this thing, because nobody can take care of this younger brother of mine.
So Motofela was staying at home before he went to Life Esidimeni?
To Life Esidimeni.
And who was living at home?
Sorry?
Who was staying at home? Who lived there? Were you staying with him?
Yeah, I was staying with him before I started before I married.
And who else was staying with you and Motofela?
It was another brother of mine who also passed away. It's Elliot Lohwabi.
And your mother?
And my mother.
And what was it like living with Motofela? Could he talk?
No, Motofela couldn't talk.
Could he walk?
He could walk.
Could he eat by himself?
He could eat by himself.
Could he bath by himself?
Yeah, he could bath himself.
And he could dress himself?
Yeah, also he could dress himself. The problem is that it seems as if he was having an epilepsy. Time and two, he will fall because he has to need some assistance.
And you were the one, you said, that provided that assistance?
Yeah.
How old was Motofela when he went to Life Esidimeni Waverley?
Yeah, I was a small boy, around about 15 years, yeah.
And you say that he was there for about 33 years?
Yeah, 33 years.
And what was it like? What were the conditions like at Life Esidimeni?
Yeah, let me tell you, Councillor, at Life Esidimeni, in fact, there was a new home for Motofela. In fact, they treat him so well. Because I remember the first year when he was there, in December, when it was open day, we took him for a week because we were instructed how should he drink his medicine and what time should he eat, what time should he start sleeping and whatever. And then he mustn't always stay at the TV.
So you took him home during the festive season?
Yeah, yeah, we call it the open day.
The open day.
Yeah.
And how long did he come home for?
Yeah, most of the time, if I took him this year, then the next year, somebody will took him, my aunt, and then we took him to Soweto.
And when you took him home, he was taking medication?
No, he was taking medicine
How many times a day?
3 times a day.
And did he have any epileptic fits when he was at home?
No, at that time, no. The epilepsy was, seems as he was simmering or whatever, I can call it. It was handled correctly with those medications.
And how often during the year did you go and visit Motofela?
Every end of the month, I have to go there.
And were you happy with how he was at Life Esidimeni?
Yeah, that's why I said when he arrived at the first year after he arrived at Life Esidimeni in Waverley, that was his new home. I was happy.
Who would go with you to visit him?
Yeah, always it was my late brother. Then I started to marry, and then my wife started to take care because he was a dental therapist, my late wife. Started to take care of him because he could go at any time. He was driving, could go any time to go and visit. And sometimes he would tell me that today I was at Waverley to come and visit Motofela because he was close to her.
How did you find out that the Life Esidimeni Waverley was going to close?
Yeah, as it was indicated here, we found that on the open day, 2015, yeah, December, that it seems as if this center is going to be closed, but they are not sure, but they will come and inform us.
Who told you?
Yeah, at that time, there was some other managers and sisters at Waverley. I couldn't remember their names.
Okay. And you took you took Motofela home.
On that day, that day, on open day, we took him to, and then because we bring him on the 3rd of January 2016.
And did you hear anything more when you brought him back about the closure of Life Esidimeni?
No, my wife started to ask, is this true that this center is going to close? They said to him, we are still waiting for any response from the government that this thing is going to close or what.
When did you find out that Motofela had been moved?
Yeah, you see now it started as an heartache. On the 6th of May, 2016, my wife went to Life Esidimeni to go and check. He was with his friends. They found that Motofela is no more there. Then he asked some other sisters, I think the name was Dorothy or who, to say, where's Motofela? Then the sister told him that these patients have been moved without our knowledge, and then we don't know where they are going to. But he advised to say, the first bench is gone, we don't know, and the second bench is gone, we don't know where they are. But start to look at the Sterkfontein, Vetporki, and Selby. And then the last place where you can go is Tagalan in Soweto.
And did you look for Motofela at those facilities?
Sorry?
Did you look for Motofela?
Yeah, we started journey on the 6th of, in fact, it was on the 8th of May. We didn't find Motofela. Up until on the 22nd of June, where we were being informed, because my wife was is just like a nurse, and then he got some contact with nurses. He was busy phoning. We got a call that they've received another guy, but they're still waiting for his ID to be brought. Then my wife must come and check if this is Motofela.
What facility was this?
It was in Kalinen.
Okay.
So on the 23rd, me and my wife went to Kalinen
Sorry, the 23rd of...
of June. We went to Kalinen. We waited there at the reception from 10 o'clock up until 2 o'clock. Because Daphne at that time was busy. Then at 2 o'clock, they say,
What do you mean she was busy?
they say Daphne was busy.
But were you in the reception area?
Yeah, I was in the reception.
Had she seen you when you arrived?
No, the nurses told us that you wait here. You are not allowed to go to any ward because the person that you want to identify, you don't know him on which ward is he belonging to. Then we
So
wait.
you were told to wait for the social worker?
Yeah, for the social worker to come.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Who came and testify here.
Yes.
Then
Did
runabout.
they tell you why you have to wait for 5 hours?
No, she couldn't explain to us. She says no, she was busy.
4 hours.
Yeah, she says she was busy. Because I was angry, but I have to hold my horses because I want to be helped.
And what did she say when you finally...
Yeah, he says, can you come and identify this guy because you told us that this is somebody with epilepsy or whatever. Certain people have been brought. I think it's one that time when Siabadinga and the anchor were closed. Then he says other people have been brought in here. Some have been brought here with open baggies. We don't know them. So can you come and identify?
So she asked you to identify one of the patients that
Yeah.
had been admitted to
Yeah,
Canada.
yeah. We found Motofela was sleepy. They bring the stretcher, in fact. I mean the wheelchair, not the stretcher. And then we found him in a wheelchair. And then we identify him as Motofela. Then we were shocked in the state that we found Motofela.
Did he have identity documents with him?
No, the identity document, we got it on the 25th of June.
Did he have medical records with him?
No, we didn't have any medical record. If you can see from the statement that I wrote, and then there's an affidavit that I wrote to give it to Section 27. On the 16th of August, or the 18th, if my memory serves me well, I made a sit-in that office because they have to call the security. Then I tell the security, you there, you don't know me. Then they called somebody from SABC. Then I said to him, you there.
Where was this? Where were you?
It was in Kalinen.
Okay, And what was the purpose? What were you waiting for?
The purpose that I was looking for, I was worried with the medical records of Motofela in order to attest to myself, why does he look like this? What's wrong with him? Did he have anything that was brought to him? The thing that we got, it was only the ID.
So that sit-in was on the 25th of August. What did it date? Did I miss the date?
It was on the, if I may
Look,
check.
you went there on the 23rd of June. 22nd, you were phoned to come and check and identify. 23rd, you went there and they brought him, you waited for 4 hours and he was brought in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And you were asked whether there were medical records. You said not. And then you tell us about the sit-in where they tried to remove them, and you said they dare not. When was
Yeah, it was the 16th of August because I was tired about that.
16th of August?
Yeah, of August.
And your brother was still there and he was still alive?
Yeah, I was still alive because I can see his health was deteriorating.
So he was there alive, but you saw that his condition was worsening?
No, on the 16th, she passed away on the 15th of August, sorry.
Oh, he passed away on the 15th of
15th
August.
of August. And then on the 16th, that's where now I start to make a sit-in that office of Matilda Mawuza. I say you can lock your doors wherever, tomorrow you will still find me here. As long as I'm having my cigarette and water, I don't care. I'm used to confinement.
But you have to tell us, how did you come to know of your brother's death? Okay.
Yeah.
The last time I heard was when you went and visited, he was on a wheelchair.
Yeah, on that day, they brought him on the wheelchair, we identify him, and then on the 24th, we went there. It's where now they brought his identity. Then Daphne told us that he's got an identity. They've sent it, and then I asked him, who gave it to you? He says it's one of the officials. You are too inquisitive, Mr. Lwabi. You are asking lots of questions. Then I said, okay, it's fine. Then what about the medical records? He says, that one they will provide. They say they are coming back.
Perhaps we can just pause there. You mentioned that when you saw him in his wheelchair, you were shocked, he had deteriorated. Can you describe to us what he looked like?
No, he was bleeding sometimes on his mouth because if you can check, the picture, the thing is that she was bleeding. We have to use some tissues to wipe his mouth so that we can give him food. And then when you give him food, you will check that everything is fine inside the plastic bag before, to make sure that all the food that we give him is done.
So he was bleeding from his mouth.
Yeah, I was bleeding from his mouth.
And do you know what was causing that?
I asked the sisters there to say, what's wrong with it? They say, maybe it falls away, you know, she's got an epilepsy, whatever.
Had anybody seen him fall?
No, nobody told me. You see, the counselor in CCRC is not a mental health institution. People should know about this. It's a rehabilitation for drugs. It's not a mental. So, because if you enter that at that facility, you'll find that other people are talking to themselves alone, without nobody will scream, because that person is there, has been brought there to come and rehabilitated. He was under the influence of drugs.
So when you went to visit Motofela in Cullinan, did you see care workers interacting with the patients?
No. We were only allowed to be in the reception. And then when I tried to see, I'm working maybe on the other wards, the security will stop me to say, what are you looking for?
And so you're saying you tried to see other areas of Cullinan, but you were
Yeah.
stopped. Justice, I wonder, I'm just looking at the time, and I wonder if it's an appropriate time to take a break.
It is indeed. We're going to adjourn. It's 11:30. We'll resume at 12 o'clock.